knows the evacuation procedure. Oh, it's Chris. Sorry, Chris, I couldn't recognise you. I couldn't see you for a minute. I do apologise.
Really scully.
Apologies for absence, everybody is here. Declarations of interest. Are there any others other than those that are printed on the agenda?
No, Chair.
No? Okay then. Minutes of the meeting of the 13th of February. Are you happy to confirm they're a true record?
Yes, Chair.
Okay. We have got some public consultation, people wishing to speak. On item 6, I've got Michelle Condarca, Councillor Condarca and Councillor Wilson. On item 7, Michelle Condarca, Councillor Condarca and Councillor Wilson. And on item 8, just Councillor Wilson. Okay, so we'll take them in that order. I'll just finish signing the minutes. Right then, we're coming to item 6 then, delivering our future 2019 to 2031, which is on page 14. The report is brought to Cabinet with a view to recommending it to Council for adoption. The Delivering Our Future document outlines how Nuneaton and Bedworth Borough Council will achieve its vision and ambitions over the next 12 years. It aims to do this by focusing and aligning its delivery to the themes and priorities outlined within it. Its overarching ambition is its aim to achieve the greatest improvement in quality of life in Warwickshire by 2031. It has 3 themes, each with a number of strategic priorities. The themes and priorities have been developed following a consultation with local residents, communities, businesses and partners within the borough. A dedicated workshop has also been provided to which all elected members were invited to attend. The success of delivering our future will be monitored via a performance management framework which will be regularly reviewed and refreshed during the lifetime of the document. A number of headline performance measures have been included, and in addition to these, localised specific performance indicators will be developed within the department action plans. It's similar to the existing corporate plan development documents. Overall progress of these plans will be monitored in accordance with the Council's performance management framework. We do then have 3 speakers on this. The first is Michelle Condarca.
Thank you. Well, the first thing I want to say is really about the consultation itself and things. 256 replies is a pretty poor response rate from the size of the borough, especially as it says that it went to all members, employees, etc., etc. So I think certainly you need to look at how you're actually doing these consultations, if they're going to be actually meaningful. Then just going through, some of the bits are downright lies, I'm afraid to say. Things. Priority 1, economy and business, building on our strong economic record. We may have had a strong economic record in the past, but in the recent times, in at least the last 10 years, we have not had a strong economic record. Yes, you need something in there about trying to build up the economy and things, but actually, let's be honest, you know, building on a strong economic record is a lie. So I think that needs to be changed. And then priority 3, enabling housing development to match our aspirations for the borough. I don't know who the R is supposed to be in that, because I don't think it's most of the population here. If judging by the number of people that were against the numbers in the borough plan and the recent petition that was associated with that. Yes, we do need some housing. I think we all agreed on that and things, but I'm very, very concerned that sort of enabling housing development is like the first thing there and things, because we've had more than enough. We're just blighted by it and things. And building homes, investing in safe, empowered, sustainable communities. If only that was actually reflected. Most people I would say, certainly judging by anyone that I speak to, just comments that people put on Facebook and things, people are not feeling empowered at all. They are, feel that they're completely ignored. They respond to planning applications and they just feel that they're not listened to and what have you. And some of the planning things are certainly not building sustainable communities. You just see that by the amount of traffic that's generated. You cannot have a sustainable communities without all the other things that are necessary, which we're just not getting. Without schools on all these new housing estates, etc., etc., it's just not happening. Seem to we will work with our communities again. That's just reflecting what I've just said there. And then priority 6 on theme 3, environment. It seems very much about physical environment, enhancing our built environment, and then it just sort of adds and open spaces. That we need to be looking much more at the natural environment and things, which would actually create much more evenness and things, because it is really reflected in health.
Thank you for your comments. Any points of clarification? Thank you very much. Councillor Condell.
Thank you very much. To emphasise, corporate plans are really, really important in setting direction. And this corporate plan is a failure because it is, as my wife says, very woolly. It doesn't have clear targets, and the targets it does have aren't for the things that actually most of the population want. Health, absolutely important. And if you look at the factors about health, it's smoking, good diet, good environment, air quality, good access to GPs. There's all sorts of things that are, if you look at the JSNA and the Director of Public Health's report each year, all sorts of really important things. They aren't reflected in this report. It's just a generic life expectancy report. Talking about empowering people, people are disempowered. We had a 6,000 petition about the housing numbers. Totally ignored. We have a borough plan that is totally at odds to what the public want. We want to build the houses we need. 6,000, 8,000, a sensible number of houses. High quality, with infrastructure, with schools, with GPs. What we're getting is a plan to build 15,000 houses. The big thing we need in the borough is jobs. We have 78,000 people of working age. We have 40-something thousand jobs. The latest wages index says there's actually only around 18,000 full-time jobs in this borough. Almost everyone commutes out for work or works part-time, freelance, 0 hours, all sorts of things. We need decent full-time jobs. On the housing and the well-being, we have 1,600 empty homes. A priority in this plan shouldn't just be building houses, it should be reducing the number of empty homes, because those empty homes are the sort of homes that people could afford to rent. The £500,000, £250,000 houses on greenfield sites aren't helping the housing problems we've got. The housing problems are due to a lack of rented houses, low rents and affordable houses. Council housing, absolutely superb. The ambitions in this should be trying to solve our problems, and fundamentally having empty houses, overpriced houses, and houses that are built totally out of the price range of the population is a problem. And empowering people, I mean, this just talks like we've got this wonderful society. We're changing the constitution to take away powers for the residents and councillors to ask questions. The review that's
Councillor Condicall, can I ask you to actually stick to what is on the agenda today? The Constitution is not a part of this report.
The report mentions empowering people, and we are getting more disempowered by the process. Yeah, sustainable communities. We have a bigger and bigger air quality problem. We have got all sorts of issues with that. Air quality should be in this report, and people should be empowered to do something about air quality rather than have a council that just says it's not an issue.
Thank you for your comments. Are there any points of clarification? Thank you, Councillor Condicall. Councillor Wilson.
Thank you, Chair. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to attend the session on the 19th of December because I was in a prior arranged meeting with Brent, and so was Councillor Golby, so we were unable to attend that one. But there are some good elements in here, but the good elements really are, in my view, what any other council could have written down. It isn't specific enough for my liking about Nuneaton and Bedworth. This reads to me more like a policy pamphlet of motherhood and apple pie statements rather than specific ambitions for Nuneaton and Bedworth. And that is where I think we're going to come a cropper, because we need to get residents and investors on board to achieve this. Bland statements don't get people on board. Specific statements about what you will do for them and for the local environment are what matter. And it would be nice if, when this is refined and whatever, that we could perhaps have something like a prospectus, something which the comms team could knock up. A black and white 4-page document isn't inspiring. Some of the things which the comms team can knock up are very inspiring. I think that would actually help sell more of what we want to do. There are some things in here where I think we need to add more specific things for the Nuneaton and Bedworth. For example, under transformation, I think we could look at putting something specifically in about the nighttime economy and the cafe culture that we want to try and do, particularly around the transforming Nuneaton. Why don't we mention transforming Nuneaton in this document? That is a policy which is going to take us more or less to 2031 by the time everything is said and done, perhaps even further beyond that. And anything to do with transforming Bedworth if that comes along. Also, under investment, the Condacors have mentioned about the natural environment. I'd also like us to mention about our heritage. We have some great heritage assets that we have in our borough which we could do to promote Nuneaton and Bedworth. Take, for example, George Eliot. We've got the bicentenary this year. We've got the City of Culture coming up with Coventry, where Coventry provides the city, we provide the culture, more or less, in Warwickshire. We have the almshouses in Bedworth. We have some Grade 1 listed buildings in our borough. Those are things we could be selling as part of this prospectus for our future. And I think those are things we could do. And also, we need to now see, moving forward, you say there'll be a range of policies and plans that come along with this. The key is going to be, and it's a word that I notice yourself, Councillor Jackson, have used, is pace. And it's critical, I believe, to get the pace behind these supplementary documents to actually start to see or move forward the aims within this document. If that can be achieved, like the transforming and Nuneaton areas we're trying to look at, to bring people on board, we need to bring people on board with this too. Otherwise, they're just going to say it's more of the same from the council, it's more words, no action. And that's what we need to see, in my view. I think there are some elements around policy where I don't think our policy or wouldn't be seen to comply with this, like Borough Plan, but I think there are some good things moving forward.
Thank you. Councillor Watson, any points of clarification? Thank you very much. Is open then to members. Anyone want to say anything? Can I just say, obviously, this is a headline document under which will sit a whole load of departmental action plans that will actually give more detail. But I actually think it's really important that we have an overarching theme. And many of the comments within it, we want to build and enhance what we already have. Well, surely that's what we should be committed to doing. We want to encourage investment into our borough, something I'm absolutely keen to see us doing. We want to promote a sustainable green economy, minimising our carbon footprint. Things that were mentioned in some of the speakers are actually addressed within the document. But on page 21 of the agenda tonight, you will see some very specific performance measurements, under which will sit in departmental action plans more detailed performance measures, I'm sure. It talks about we want to improve the life expectancy of residents in our borough to that of the rest of Warwickshire. That's clearly about Nuneaton and Bedworth. It is not right in the 21st century that life expectancy is not similar to that in the south of the county. This is actually a real big ambition. We want to do this. That's a clear target for Nuneaton and Bedworth. We want to increase the level of economic activity within the borough. A clear, measurable, identifiable thing for people within our borough. And I could go on. There's a specific target relating to dry recycling. within this document. And importantly, and I think very much linked to health actually, is to increase indoor and outdoor leisure facility provision. Very important. So far from being a document that isn't related to Nuneaton, very clearly is. It's an overarching document under which will sit other development plans. They will be worked on, and I hope and trust lots of elected members will want to input into those. This is going to council in any event, so it will be subject to full discussion now, I'm sure. Councillor Lloyd.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with one thing with Councillor Wilson. We should get the comms team putting more out there, so people, that's exactly what we're doing. I don't know whether Councillor Wilson's seen it or read it, but Coventry and Warwickshire Business on pages, whole of pages 34, 35, and the whole of pages 36 and 37 is all promoting Nuneaton and Bedworth. And in there as well is 10 reasons why business and people should come to Nuneaton and Bedworth. It's all there. So if you have a look at that, Councillor Wilson, I agree with you. Commons have done a good job with that, and I think we should be doing more of it.
I think it would be a good idea actually if we can get copies of that and share with all the elected members. I think it would be very good because it is actually showing Nuneaton and Bedworth punching its weight in the wider community, which is, I think, something we're trying to do. Okay, it is, the recommendation is that we recommend this to full council to be adopted. So can we agree the recommendation?
Yes, Chair, agree.
Okay, lovely. The next item then is the quarterly review strategic performance report. Before I bring in the speakers, is there anything that officers would like to draw particular attention to in this report?
Not particularly, Chair. The appendices have the summary of the performance over the last quarter. That's where the information is that we will have a look at.
That's lovely. Do have Michelle on the floor then, please.
Thank you. First thing I would say, please, on the online version, can we have it in colour? I understand not printing it out in colour, but it is so difficult to see, and it would be so nice to see it in colour. But I'm sure that costs nothing to do it online in colour. Sorry, can I just have the paper version? It's a lot easier than trying to read it on my little tablet. Appendix A, General fund underspend is mostly the cemetery land project is the first thing that was mentioned, and I'm concerned as to why that is the case, because I presume that's relating to Oaston Road Cemetery, and we need it. So, and it's got to be done at some point, so surely the sooner it's done, the better. I don't know why that's underspending. The FOI EIR requests, it seems as if there may be a reduction in ones that are overrunning and things, so I hope that is the case, and that's the true reflection, because there have been a lot of issues, previously. On the staff absences, it is on the increase. It's a dreadfully difficult area, I know. I just wondered how it's actually being managed, because less staff means there's more work for those that remain, which leads to more stress, and it's not just stress-related things that people are off with, but you're more prone to colds developing into more than just a sniffle if you're low and under stress. So I don't know how you get around that and things, but it'd be nice to know what is being done to try and manage that. Other things were the amber actions. I think this was on the strategic risk at the end. Page 36. This overall recycling rate 60% and things, that doesn't seem to tie in with the figures that were in the previous report and increasing by 4%, because that was somewhere on these I found something saying it was about 40-something% that was already being recycled. So there needs to be a bit of sort of balancing out and actually everything saying the same thing and what we're actually aiming at. And Amber Action, Air Quality Action Plan Review delayed. Why is this not red? We've had an Air Quality Action Plan since 2011. On the last time that came to any OSP, there was none of the actions had actually been action. They were all sort of in progress and what have you and things. And we're getting more and more in the national press and things showing that it's a real problem and we don't seem to be taking it seriously.
Thank you. Any points of clarification? Thank you, Michelle Constable. Councillor Condon.
Thank you, Chair. I just before I came to this meeting got the email about the agenda for the internal scrutiny, and that has a version of performance data that's in table format, which is a lot easier to read. So I think it's a bit strange having this where it's all in paragraphs, and then the internal scrutiny has a nice performance report with nice tables. So I think a bit more tabular information would be good, particularly with some of these paragraphs with just numbers in, because it's far easier to see where we're going when we've got a table of this is how much it's supposed to cost, this is the variance. So that's a general point. I'd like to come back to the point Michelle made about the air quality. It is getting more and more scientifically true that the air quality is one of the determining factors of life expectancy, Alzheimer's, heart attacks, all sorts of things. We keep pumping more housing in, and the Air Quality Action Plan and what we're doing on air quality is nothing. It's worse than nothing, because we keep saying when a developer comes, oh, don't worry, it'll get better because we'll all have electric cars. Yeah, there's a whole lot of air quality issues, and we should be having a working party looking again at air quality because it's going nowhere. One thing the council does do very good is housing. I've always said out of all the things the council does, Dawn Dawson's section looking at trying to solve the housing problems is always one that are better areas. And there's things we're trying to do, like the difficult to lets, and I'm always disappointed that these things are taking longer than they're supposed to, and also we've got the conversion of the warden flats and things to progress as well. So it'll be useful if Dawn can give some positive messages. We're actually progressing those things. And I'll say again, because it's in here about one of our red risks is providing the accommodation that people need. Risk 1 on page 37, we really need to be getting the empty homes officer back, because the number of empty homes has gone from 1,500 to 1,600 in the borough. You'll never get it down to zero. Yeah, there'll always be 1,000 homes where people died and whatever, but the number of empty homes is actually going up now, and that is something we should be working on, because we lose new homes bonus for having more empties anyway. So it ticks all the boxes. It's a win-win-win to actually get those empties back in use. We get more new homes bonus if we have less empties. We're helping with our housing problems, which then help with all the other financial problems we've got of temporary housing, etc. So I really do hope we re-push empty homes. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any points of clarification? Thank you very much, Councillor Condon. Councillor Wilson.
Thank you, Chair. There are a couple of points I'd like to make. Firstly, on page 29, where it talks about the customer telephone system, I've raised this point before and I'll raise it again, that a target of 80% is far too low for dealing with calls at first contact. It should be higher. The industry standard is around 95%. I know this, have it in my own line of work, dealing with this. It makes the council look very good having it from 80, having a target of 80% to 94%, but it is not competing against. It's not reflecting against the other market forces, both public and private. Over the page, on page 30, talking about percentage of waste recycled and composted is 46.5%. How are we going to monitor this? What targets are we going to set now that we have the charge for the green bin collection? Because that is assuming that it's based on the 37,000 houses that used to take part in the green bin collection, not the current figure. So that needs to be reviewed and updated, or some more explanation given about what we're going to do about that. Return to work compliance is extremely worrying. 75.21% against the 100% target. If people need to be managed out of this authority, it's always regretful. But there does come a point where this authority, and any other authority, I know this because I have to do it myself, you have to manage people out according to your attendance management policy. If you aren't complying with your policy and you dismiss them, you're on a hide into nothing. Either the appeals committee will overturn it, costing more cost for the council in terms of wasted time, or if they go to tribunal, then you're in really big trouble because of any costs they might incur going down that route. It shouldn't happen, and return to work should be happening. I can accept a variance of 5%, but being so far out by 20%, 25% in this case, is too high. Annual development reviews is another area of concern. It looks good on page 30 at 87%. It looks like it's improved. But the data on page 35 is very concerning. For a start, employees who have declined a review. Why are we letting employees decline a review? I can accept it if they're just about to leave the authority through retirement, got another job, etc. So there's no point doing a review at that stage. But no one should be allowed to decline a review about their performance. I don't let my staff get away with it. This authority shouldn't let our staff get away with it either. And the areas where they are taking place is startling, really. I would have expected the operations directorate to be more of a difficult issue because more people are out on the rounds doing things. But to have customer services at 47 out of 70 and planning and public protection 27 out of 46, where there should be more desk-bound jobs than traditional bins or on the markets, etc. in the other directorates, there should be no excuse for them not having their performance reports done. So really, we need to get our house in order to make sure our performance is up to scratch.
Thank you for your comments. Are there any points of clarification? Thank you very much, Councillor Wilson. Can I ask Brenton Simone, are there any comments you need to make before I throw it to members of Cabinet?
Just on the development reviews, that is a two-way process. So where an employee declines a review, that has to be approved by the line manager. If the line manager feels they need one, they will still carry that out.
Okay, thank you. Anything you needed to? No. Okay. Any member? The performance report is here. It's pleasing to note those areas, obviously, where we are above target. I heard Councillor Wilson's point, actually, in regard to the customer call system. And actually, the latest outcome is 94% against a target of 80%. I'm going to ask officers to look at that and whether that's a realistic target. I think that's a point well made by Councillor Wilson. So we will certainly talk to officers with regard to that.
We are looking at that for 1920, so we don't generally change a measure partway through the year, which is why it's still 80%, but we are looking at it from it.
Okay, so we've got assurance that that will be revisited. Okay. Any other items that people were particularly concerned about? Okay, obviously this is a report for noting in effect, and we've obviously heard that there is an assurance in regard to the that one performance indicator that will be looked at. Are we happy then to agree the recommendation?
Yes, Jim.
Yeah, okay. We move then to the next item, which I believe is recommendations from overview and scrutiny committee. Councillor Watkins, you're the chair of this particular scrutiny committee. Did you want to say anything in regard to the recommendations that are printed there?
Chair, I'm just here to answer any questions that are arising from them recommendations. Most people in here are asking questions or on that scrutiny anyway, but I'm here if they
Okay, thank you very much, Councillor Watkins. We do have a speaker, Councillor Wilson.
Thank you, Chair. The external scrutiny panel was extremely interesting, actually, because we had the PCC there and a representative from the police who we were able to question specifically about gypsy and traveller issues. And as it so happened, I think the day before it was announced that there was a new gypsy and traveller consultation. I think it was the day before, if I remember rightly. And the PCC has given an undertaking and assurance that he will be responding to the consultation. And I felt, having listened to that, it would be appropriate, particularly given the issues that we've had in Nuneaton and Bedworth over many years, that we respond to the consultation and that is informed to all members about what we have said. This council has, in the past, said that we want more powers, as well as not using the existing powers that we could have used, but saying that we want more powers. This consultation is offering more powers to the relevant bodies, and I think we should be supporting that as a council, and that's why I put forward that recommendation, which the committee agreed to move forward to Cabinet, and I hope Cabinet will take that forward. And also about the county court injunction, which was quite interesting, listening to the police officer in question. When he was specifically asked about the enforceability of the injunction, he was told they have no issues with the injunction being enforced. They believe it is enforceable. They have been enforcing it. They are able to use the power of arrest attached to that injunction. There was one issue with regard that they had to go back and seek clarification of about the land that was covered, but that was a very short delay in Rugby from what the police officer informed us about, and they are absolutely behind using that injunction. I am aware that we are applying for a High Court injunction, which does have far more powers, but in the interim, whilst we have these issues, we don't know what's going to happen at the High Court. It could go to trial, the judge might want more information at High Court level. I think we should be applying for a county court injunction. If it's not borough-wide, if we can't get that, then apply for specific injunctions for specific locations which we know have been targeted. Places like the Jubilee Centre, places like the Gala Field, places like the Pingles and the car park. And there are others around the borough which I'm sure we could all name. But to ignore using one, I'm aware that the barrister who is advising the council says it's not worth the paper it's written on, the county court injunction. Well, the judge disagrees, and that order has not been appealed, and it is an enforceable order until such time as a judge rules otherwise. So why are we not using those powers to protect our areas too? I am aware that prior to Christmas, there was a illegal encampment down in Warwick Way. We asked the officers from the police about this. I think it was Warwick Racecourse, if I remember rightly. They completely bypassed Rugby, knowing there was an injunction, and they ended up here. Why are we not using those same powers to try and help our residents? Yes, get your High Court injunction, get our High Court injunction, but use the other powers available to us in the meantime.
Thank you for your comments and points of clarification. Thank you, Councillor Wilson. Councillor Beaumont.
Chair, there were two questions really that were part of the consideration coming to us from external overview and scrutiny panel. The question of government consultation on unlawful traveller encampments. There is no government consultation on unlawful traveller encampments. If I can just get to the response that I've been given. There is no traveller consultation. The government has just reported on the last consultation and concluded that police powers are to be strengthened. This assumes the police will, of course, exercise those powers. And that's the only consultation that this council is aware of. As far as the question of going to county courts instead of waiting for our injunction to produce the fruits of our labours and expense, you are right. The council has noted the potential conflict between making a similar application on the same matter in two separate courts and commented, I would strongly advise against taking this course of action as it would impact negatively on the main injunction proceedings. The county court would need to be informed of the main injunction proceedings and the council would be under a duty of full and frank disclosure, and the council is of the view that if that obligation is met, the county court would be reluctant to interfere when the High Court is already dealing with the same issues. We are only a few weeks, and I think it's less than a few weeks now, we are only a few weeks away from making the interim application before the High Court. So on both questions really, I think I've answered in full, or as full as I could, the advice that I've got about our ability to proceed on either of those two issues. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Any other comments?
No, Chair.
I believe we are due in the High Court very soon.
Yeah,
are we not?
19.
Next week.
Next week. So obviously we will see what happens at the High Court when we put our evidence in front of the judge. We await that outcome, and I think that's the best we can do at this stage. Are other members of Cabinet happy with that?
Yeah.
Our information is, Councillor Beaumont has said there isn't an ongoing government consultation. Obviously, if we find out there is, we will have to look at that again, but at this moment in time, our understanding is there is not, and we will await the decision of the High Court before considering any other measures available to us. Are we all happy with that?
Yes,
Okay, thank you very much. Item 9, any other business? I'm not aware of any. Can I thank everybody for attending today? Safe journey home. Thank you.